wanna kiss up and rub up and fill up. Kiss up and rub up and fill up on you all night.
The boomers like to remind us of their 14% interest rates in the 1980s compared to our 7.5 today, and we should stop whining. But the average home was $47,000 in 1980, where today it is $436,000 for the average home. Let's compare that to salary. The average salary in 1980 was $12,000. It is only $56,000 today. So housing went up times 10, but incomes only went up times 4.5. And then if you look at it compared to the average home, it is 4 times the salary for the average home, where today it's 8 times. This person can't even be qualified for this. But if the 1980s person didn't want to deal with the 14%, they had an option called renting. They could actually rent an apartment for $243, which was only 24% of their income. Today, the average rent is $2,000, which is 42% of the average American's income. So if the average American can't afford the average house, they are almost being forced to rent. And if they're forced to rent, they're forced to spend 40% of their income on housing. That is what's putting pressure on Americans today.
Son, I absolutely love the new place. How'd you do on the interest rate? Yeah, I felt it was pretty good. It was right around 3%. No complaints here. Pretty good. Your mom and I's first house was 18%. Your generation will never understand what that's like. Whoa, that's really high. Unrelated, but what did you pay for college? Just curious. Listen, I see where you're going here. Your grandma made it clear the only way I was gonna find myself in college is if I busted it. So one summer, I work all summer long, 3 months down at Blackford Shoe Repair, 50-hour work weeks. I find myself in college, paying my own way. Wow, so you worked every single summer to pay your own way through college? No, that summer paid for all 4 years of law school. Oh, that paid for all 4 years. And that's why your mom and I told you that you were on your own for college. We want you to understand what a hard day's work is. Do you have any concept right now of what it costs to go to college? I don't know, a couple grand? That is wildly accurate if we are talking about what it costs per week.
Are you ready to buy if interest rates start falling? Because it could happen as soon as this month. Probably one of the most heartbreaking things is watching a first-time home buyer who thinks they would be approved, find the house they fall in love with, go to get approved, only to find out they need to fix something on their credit that might take 30, 60, or 90 days, and it might only be a couple $100, but they didn't know about it, and now they lose out on this perfect home for them when interest rates fall into the range that they want to buy. The worst part about all of it is it's super avoidable if you go get approved before, so you're ready and you know where you stand. I always tell people, go straight to the source. They're the ones lending you the money, and they're going to be the ones that tell you if you make changes, how it's going to impact you. It seriously always pays off to be proactive. And again, most people are completely oblivious to these small things that are holding them back. And it costs them absolutely nothing to go through and find out what those may be. So my advice for you, if you're looking to buy in the future, I'm not saying that rates are going to drop into the range you want this month, but I will tell you last year, right around Thanksgiving time, the floodgates opened up. I posted about a house that closed in December at 3.99% fixed interest rate, while everyone else was making content about how home prices are going to fall double digits next year, don't buy. I was telling you, hey, I see a wave of people coming into the market, taking advantage of these dip in rates, and I think you're going to start to see multiple offers in spring. Now that turned out to be correct, and I'm not saying rates are going to fall this month and you need to listen to me. What I'm saying is be ready for when they do. Don't get caught with your pants around your ankles and lose out on that dream home. Be ready. Be a smart, educated buyer and get multiple opinions from multiple sources and make the best decision for you. As always, on this page, you're going to get what's happening in front of me today, real time. I'll keep you posted. Like, share, follow. You know the drill.
Now's the time to buy a house, and here's why. Interest rates have gone up a little crazy, and you might be waiting for the interest rates to go down, or people might be saying that you're crazy, that you're wanting to buy a house at 7% interest rate. But I've got a little example for you. Say right now, a home lists for $300,000, and the home value is $300,000 at 7% interest rate. What happens if you wait 6 months, 8 months, interest rates drop, they might drop to 5.5%, which is better than what we're paying right now at 7.5% is. However, inventory is going to still be low. There's still going to be a high demand. More people are going to be having more buying power because of the interest rates. And the homes may be under multiple offer situations, which are going to increase the bidding, and it might surpass the home's value. So the reason why I think it's the time to buy now is you'll be paying less on a home, and actually the home value's worth, and it might be at 7.5%. But is it better to pay that or wait 6 months, wait a year? Home values rise already. Interest rates lower a bit, but you might be paying $325, $330 for a house because of overbidding, multiple offers, and home value increasing over time. So now's the time to buy.
The IRS just announced that they're bumping their interest rates from 7% to 8%, and this is going to affect 160 million people within two groups. The first group of people are Team Refund. So for whatever reason, if you file your taxes before April 15, 2024, and for whatever reason you don't receive your refund 45 days after this April 15, 2024 date, which is going to be May 30th, 2024, the IRS owes you interest, and this is going to be 8%. Next is Team Small Business Owners and Content Creators. Actually anyone who owes taxes at the end of the year. For whatever reason, if you file your taxes and you have a balance due and you don't pay it, then you're going to get hit with that 8% interest charge. You can avoid all these interest and penalties by filing your quarterly taxes on time. There are 4 due dates in 2023. First one is April 18, 2023. The next one is June 15, 2023. The next one, this is coming up, September 15, 2023. And Q4 is going to be January 16, 2024. If you have missed those dates in the past, get on it going forward because you do not want to miss your quarterly tax payments. Super important. My name is Duke and I make taxes very easy to understand. Give me a follow to stay educated.
For real though, because I'm a millennial and I bought my house in 2021 and your girl's sitting pretty at a 2.5 interest rate. Yeah, I'm sitting pretty. But anyways, that's beside the point. I got pre-approved because I want a second home. And I got 2 pre-approvals and the rates are 7.5 and 8.875. Granted, that is on a second home, so the rates are higher, but damn, I'm big chilling with my 2.5 and my primary.
I want to share this with you, and I think that this is very important because this shows you where we currently stand. So I'm going to tell you about the sentiments of the voting members of the Fed. And this is going to go from dovish to hawkish. Dovish means that they support an easier monetary policy. So dovish means they want lower interest rates and more money printing. Hawkish means they want a tighter monetary policy. So hawks want higher interest rates and less money printing. So starting with dovish, Patrick Harker, who's the Philadelphia Fed president, said, "Right now, I think we've probably done enough." So Harker said this on August 24th. You can interpret this as Harker believes that interest rates don't need to go any higher. Now moving on to the centrist statements. John Williams, the New York Fed president, said, "It's still an open question." So he said this on September 7th, just a few days ago. So this is a centrist statement because Williams is saying that it can go either way. Maybe they're going to raise interest rates, maybe they won't. So he's in the middle. Now, let me show you a hawkish statement. And this is coming from Jerome Powell, chair of the Federal Reserve. He said that we are prepared to raise rates further if appropriate. So Jerome Powell said that on August 25th at Jackson Hole. For this comment by Powell, I understand how you can read this as centrist or hawkish, but it still does come off as hawkish if you're talking about raising interest rates higher. Lori Logan, Dallas Fed president, she said, "My base case is that there is work left to do." So she said this on September 7th, just a few days ago. Now, this is clearly more hawkish than Powell. Logan is saying that interest rates need to go higher. This isn't a complete hawk statement because Logan said that it's her base case. So it could possibly turn out that they don't need to raise interest rates higher. Now moving on to, so these are straightforward hawk statements. Neil Kashkari, who's the Minneapolis Fed president, said, "I'm not ready to say that we're done." So he said this on August 15th. So this is a clear-cut hawk statement. Kashkari is not saying that this is my base case. No, Kashkari is directly saying that he wants to see interest rates go higher. Michelle Bowman, Fed governor, she said, I expect that additional increases will likely be needed to lower inflation. So she said that on August 7th. This is clearly a hawk statement by Bowman. Bowman is saying that she expects higher interest rates and she's being very direct about it. Okay, so that's the situation. But again, Jerome Powell will say that their decisions will be data driven. It's going to be data dependent. So I want to show you the data. As you can see, headline inflation has been falling. We are seeing a bounce in headline inflation, but it's come down a lot. It's at 3.7% in August. But the Federal Reserve prefers to look at core inflation, not headline inflation. And as I said for over a year, core inflation is proving to be very sticky in the 4 to 5% range. So you could read this in the headlines anywhere. We're talking about Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, Axios. This is coming from Yahoo Finance. Core inflation has gotten sticky as expected. So look at the charts. It's slowly coming down, but it's clearly not taking a nosedive. Okay, so ultimately, here's where we're at. CPI headline inflation is at 3.7%. PCE core inflation is at 4.2%. CPI core inflation is at 4.3%. And the Federal Reserve wants to get inflation down to 2%. None of those stats are at 2%. They're not even close to 2%. It's not like 2 point something, no, it's 3%, 4%. And the most important one, so we're talking about core inflation, they're in the 4% range. 4% range means double the target range, so that's not close. And PCE core and headline CPI went up in their last reports, so that's not good. So this is why people are saying and thinking that the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates higher in the future at upcoming meetings. Just because they don't raise interest rates on Wednesday doesn't mean that they're done raising in this economic cycle. So those were the statements by the voting members, and that is a summary of the data. And this is important because this is going to affect everyone. So this is going to affect the housing markets. This will affect basically anything with the interest rate. So we're talking about auto loans, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, etc. This is going to affect business loans. It's going to affect commercial real estate. And it's going to make a big impact on the economy. That's why it's so important. Many economists are saying that the Federal Reserve did a great job. They're saying that the Federal Reserve navigated this one very well. They're saying that the Federal Reserve will pull off a soft landing for us. I personally do not believe that it's clear sailing from here. I believe that we're actually far from it. But let's see what happens, and you could tell me your opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please subscribe. I thank you for the support, and I wish you a very nice day. Take care.
All right, this one's crazy. Let's take a look at the interest you would pay on this property in 2021 versus 2023 today. So if you were to put 20% down and finance the rest over 30 years, in 2021 you could have got 2.5% on your mortgage. That means in the first 5 years of holding that mortgage, you would pay just about $43,000 in interest. I mean, sure, that seems like a lot, but let's compare it to today, where mortgage rates are at 7.5%. So in the first 5 years of owning this property today, you would be paying over $130,000 just in interest. And on top of that, you would only have put $20,000 towards your principal. Personally, I don't think it should cost anybody this much to own a home. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I think something needs to be done about it.
This post has nothing to do with my insane good looks. We're just going to talk about why interest rates should be lower than they are now. You see, I respect and understand your argument, saying that historically, over the last 50 years, rates have been around mid-sevens. However, over those 50 years, the mortgage rates followed that 10-year treasury yield, and the spread between that and mortgage rates is that of usually 150 to 200 basis points. What does that mean? That means if the 10-year treasury is at 4, that interest rates should be at 5.5 or 6%. However, now, over here, we're looking at a 300 to 325 point basis spread, which means while we're at about a 5-year, give or take, 10-year yield, interest rates are flirting with 8%. That's 300 basis points instead of 200 or 150. That's why I say rates should be around 6.5, maybe 7, not 7.5, close to 8. Again, it's not my pretty good looks. Don't trust me. Read the article. Right now we're around 300 basis points. Given historical trends, spread should be between 150 to 200 basis points. This is also why I say the Fed doesn't have to cut rates for mortgage rates to come down, because Mortgage rates could come down even if the benchmark to the 10-year Treasury stays the same. That's important because everyone's waiting for the Fed to cut before they enter the housing market. Whereas this is saying you could see relief quicker. So pay attention to that spread. So while you're not wrong, and rates have been around 7.5% historically, so you're not wrong when it comes to 7.5% being the average over the last 50 years. However, this spread is temporarily elevated, and hopefully I did a good enough job of explaining why. So I hope that helps explain my position a little bit more. Glad to listen to anything else you guys have to say. Throw it in the comments.
In 2019, the average price of a home was $260,000 with an interest rate of 4%. So if you're looking at a monthly payment of about $1,700 a month, okay, this means that the average income that you would need to qualify is about $60,000. Okay, now I want to jump forward to 2023. That exact same home is now selling for $436,000 with an interest rate of 7.5%. So your monthly payment is up to $3,700 a month. That means that the average income has to be at least $115,000 with zero debt in order to qualify for a home today. And for many Americans, that payment is just not affordable based on their income. So what should you do? You need to start a side hustle to increase your income. And my favorite side hustle is wholesaling real estate because you can do it without any of your own money. So if you want to learn more, like and follow.
You want to buy a house, but you're concerned about interest rates. Let's get into it. I had a conversation today with a friend regarding interest rates on a mortgage, and just like everyone else, he asked Clarice, when are interest rates going to drop? I told him, hey, if you don't mind me asking, what's your interest rate? To which he replied, 6.8. Now, historically, if you look at interest rates from 1971 to 2023, the average is 7.74. I simply told him, listen, dude, you have a below average interest rate. The problem that we're seeing is that everyone is just so used to these historically low interest rates stemming from COVID. Everyone's freaking out because they're not getting a 2, 3, or 4% interest rate. And if you have one, that's great, but it's not normal. I gave him the best advice I could, and I said, hey, you know, when interest rates fall, you can refinance. It's an easy option, and you can always buy down your points. I know it's a tacky response, but the best time to buy is always right now because you can always refinance later down the line. There's a saying that goes, marry the house and date the rate, and it's true because you can always change your interest rate.
Yet another RBA day, interest rates on hold again for the fourth consecutive month, which is great news for homeowners and people looking to get into the property market. But let's take a look at the bigger picture. Unemployment is on the rise, economic growth has slowed down, and inflation looks to continue to be decelerating despite the slight increase last month, which was mainly due to oil prices. These are all indicators as to why the rates did not move upwards this time. Now let's take a look at the property market. The above picture was shown on the news a couple of days ago. 2023 is now officially a growth year in the property market. This is despite all of the negative news at the beginning of this year, where they said that the property market could decline up to 40% in certain cities. Always do your own research and never rely on what mainstream outlets provide you. Remember, if these people coming out with the figures knew what they were talking about, they'd be on the rich list, not working for the media.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
Mortgage rates raced towards 8% after hitting a high not seen since 2000, making housing the least affordable it's ever been in the last, 23 years? Ooh. So bring this into perspective. If you bought a house back in 2021 at around a 3% interest rate that cost $300,000, the principal and interest on that home would be $1,264. For that same home at the beginning of 2022 at about a 5% interest rate, same home at $300,000, the principal and interest would be $1,610. But today, at a 7.72% interest, that same home would cost you $2,143. In the comments down below, let me know, what's your interest rate? And would you be buying in 2023 or not? And be sure to like and follow the Duplex King for more.
if you want to start investing in real estate in 2023, this is the type of property that I would look for. This is a duplex, 2-unit building located in Marietta, Georgia, and it's listed for $430,000, and it's got 2 units. Each side is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Now, a couple things that I love about this property. Number one is the location. This is just a mile from Marietta Square, and that is a highly sought after location. It's growing quite a bit, which means you're going to build more equity over time and likely to have a steady supply of renters. Other things that I like about this are that it's in pretty good condition. It's not fully renovated, but they've done a decent amount of work, at least enough that you could put a tenant in here and start making money right away. So let's take a look at the numbers. Now, in this case, I'm assuming that you're going to house hack this property. You're going to buy it with an FHA loan, 3.5% down, live in one side and rent out the other. And using those assumptions, we could see some pretty solid returns. It's still a little bit cash flow negative, so you're not going to make that much passive income. But when you start to look at the equity piece that you might be able to build over time, you could see a total ROI of 24%, which is pretty amazing.
Let's say the interest rates drop down to 5% or lower in 2024. What do you think the first thing is going to happen? Well, people who are waiting to sell are going to sell, right? So there's going to be a lot more homes on the market. However, the people that are waiting to buy are also going to start buying. But if there's more homes on the market, that means that they're going to take a look at all those homes and take their sweet time, and your home will be on the market for longer because there's so many other homes. Right? So the chances of your home selling because there's so many others like it.
Gonna kiss up and rub up and fill up.
This is why
Kiss up and rub up and fill up on you all night.
the advantage of selling are not only selling within 1 to 2 weeks, but they're selling for over asking price because there's more demand on that home. So just something to
Gonna
consider.
kiss up and rub up and fill up.
Waiting,
Kiss up and rub up and fill up on you all night.
that way you can make some extra money.
If you're a buyer and you're waiting on the housing market to cool down, well, let me tell you something. You are doing yourself a disservice by waiting on the market to cool down. I just came from one of my business networking groups, and the mortgage people and the experts said, well, you're not going to see a change in interest until about the end of 2024, at least a massive shift in the market until the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. And when there is a shift, there's going to be an issue. There's still going to be a lack of houses, and demand is going to shoot up, and the prices of all the houses are going to shoot up even further. So if you have some homes saved in your little Zillow list, and you're like, oh, the interest rates are going to drop. And
Gonna kiss up and rub up and fill up. Kiss up and rub up and fill up on you all night.
And it's going to be an insane price.
What is next year? Next year is an election year. I think interest rates are going to drop, artificially drop.
Coming up in 2024, I do not see housing prices going down anytime soon. I see housing prices going up significantly going into the election. See, typically when somebody's in office and they're trying to get reelected, they want to make the market look better than it really is. So I believe that interest rates going into 2024 will actually come back down to 4 or 5%, and all of the buyers sitting on the sideline are going to go and buy a house, and the housing prices are going to go way up. Now, I'd love to know what you think down below. Do you think that housing prices are going to go down or up in 2024?
Gonna kiss up and rub up and fill up. Kiss up and rub up and fill up on